Inside the Tate's living room, Wanda Tate gave an ultimatum to her stepdaughter, Avery Tate. You can see your father on the condition that you either marry Elliot Foster or fork out $1.5 million. The choice is yours. Avery smiled coldly after hearing that. You're pushing me to marry a man who is in a persistent vegetative state because you can't bear the thought of your daughter doing the same? And you're doing that just because you want the money? Well, keep dreaming if you think you can threaten me like that. So you're not going to make a choice then? Wanda raised her voice and pointed at Avery. Then I'll just end your father's treatment. Our family doesn't have much money left, so I might as well save it for your sister's dowry rather than spend it on a dying man. I'm still his wife, remember? I have the authority to stop his treatment at any time. How dare you? Tisich. If you want to save him, then do as I say and marry Elliot. Avery's expression turned cold, and she left without saying another word. Wanda was a sinister and vicious woman who never made empty threats. Avery had to find a way to raise money as soon as possible. She took out her cell phone and called her boyfriend, Cole, because she felt that he would be able to help her. After all, Cole was one of the Fosters, and he was also Elliot's nephew. However, his familiar ringtone somehow blared from a nearby bedroom. Avery thought that she misheard because Cole could not have been at her home, much less in her sister's room. Avery was still doubting herself when her sister Cassandra's voice said, "It's a call from my sister. Aren't you going to answer it, Cole? What if it's something urgent?" "Who cares about that B*Tisich? She's never let me Ket her in the 3 years that we were together, so I bet she has some sort of illness down there. But with you. Oh my, I can't get enough of you. My uncle is a vegetable now, and he doesn't have much longer to live. When she marries him and ends up being a widow, I'll coax her so that all the Foster's assets will be ours. Then I'm going to have lots of fun with you." "You're so naughty." Avery felt as if a thunderbolt had just struck her. Her head was buzzing, and whatever hope she had of turning her situation around evaporated in an instant. Her boyfriend, who frequently declared his love for her, turned out to have been cheating on her. And the woman who had an affair with him was none other than her sister. Avery closed her eyes tightly as the loud and lustful echoes of passion intensified from inside the room. Alas, she was unable to stop her tears from sliding down her cheeks. The Fosters were one of the wealthiest families in Evansville, and Elliot, the head of the family, had unfortunately been in a persistent vegetative state after an accident 6 months ago. The doctor had already made it clear that he would not be able to survive until the end of the year. His mother, Rosalie, did not want him to die unmarried, so she promised a sky-high betrothal gift to anyone who would be willing to marry him. The Fosters were wealthy, and since Elliot was the head of the family, his mother would not even consider poorer households, even though Elliot was in a persistent vegetative state. That being said, none of the upper-class young ladies would be willing to marry a dying person. Coincidentally, her father was admitted to hospital with a sudden illness when his company went under. Money was required for his medical expenses, so Wanda decided to use his illness to threaten Avery after hearing the news that the Fosters were seeking a wife for Elliot. Avery wiped her tears aggressively. She then opened her tightly shut eyes to reveal an icy cold stare. She had been too naive. For years, she endured bullying from her stepmother and stepsister for her father's sake. She even believed every single lie that came out of her sweet-talking boyfriend's mouth. At that moment, she decided that she would no longer let herself be taken for a fool. Avery took out her cell phone and made a call. "I'll marry Elliot." The wedding ceremony was held 3 days later. Avery was alone at the wedding, and she walked down the aisle with a white veil over her face and a bouquet in her hand. From then on, she was Mrs. Foster, and she was untouchable. That night, Avery was sent to Elliot's mansion. It was located in the heart of the city's affluent district and cost over $150 million. Before Avery could properly take in the mansion's layout, Mrs. Cooper had dragged her to the master bedroom. Her eyes were immediately drawn to the man on the large bed. She slowly walked over and carefully watched his face. Elliot's deep-set features stood out on his chiseled face, and he exuded a majestic aura of nobility. His skin was unusually pale from spending all that time indoors, but his handsome face made one unable to take their eyes off of him. If he were not sick, Avery would have never become his wife. Before he had been bedridden from the car crash, Elliot was a powerful figure in the country of Ariadne. Sterling Group, which he headed, was one of the country's top 10 corporations that he was rumored to be ruthless and tyrannical, and had a legal business as well as deals with the underworld. Anyone who crossed him was bound to pay a hefty price. Avery never thought that she would marry a man like Elliot. The bedroom door opened while she was lost in thought that it was Cole. "I'm sorry, Avery. I was too busy today and just managed to come to see you," said Cole as he approached Avery with feigned sincerity on his face. "I just married your uncle." Avery snapped coldly. "Do I need to teach you how to address me? I know you're mad. I didn't elope with you because I didn't want you to suffer a difficult life. Uncle Elliot is practically a dead man, so you don't have to lift a finger while married to him. Once he's dead, I'll get a good lawyer and make sure you get his whole estate." Cole eagerly grabbed Avery's hands and said, "When that happens, everything he has will be ours." Avery recalled the earlier scene she had witnessed between Cole and Cassandra, and she felt a surge of disgust. "Let go," she yelled as she violently shook his hands off. Her sudden cry took Cole by surprise. Was this the Avery he knew? Avery was always gentle and kind, and she would never raise her voice at him. Could she have found out about something? Cole felt a hint of guilt and moved closer to Avery in hopes of explaining things to her. The next moment, his eyes shifted to something behind Avery. His eyes widened in disbelief as if he had just seen a ghost. Cole stammered. Elliot, who was lying still in bed, began to slowly open his eyes. Under the lights of the crystal chandelier, Elliot's obsidian black eyes were deep, magnetic, and dangerous as always. It was a gaze that sent a chill down one's spine. The color disappeared from Cole's face as he stumbled a few steps back. "Elliot is awake? Wasn't he supposed to be dying soon?" A wave of terror washed over her, and she could not help but back away, and she ran toward the stairs. "Mrs. Cooper, Elliot's awake." He opened his eyes. Avery cried that Mrs. Cooper rushed up the stairs upon hearing Avery's voice. "Master Elliot opens his eyes every day, madam, but it doesn't mean he's awake." "Look, he's not responding to anything we're saying right now," Mrs. Cooper said. She then sighed and added, "The doctors said that there's a very low probability for someone in a vegetative state to wake up." Avery still felt a lingering uneasiness as she saw Mrs. Cooper out of the room. She sat stiffly next to Elliot and watched his striking features. She stretched her hand out and waved it in front of his eyes. "What's on your mind, Elliot?" she asked, but there was no response. Avery felt a sudden pang of sadness. Her suffering was nothing compared to what he had to go through. "I hope you wake up soon, Elliot. If that scumbag Cole gets his cold, sleazy hands on all your money, you won't be able to die in peace." Elliot closed his eyes slowly after that.